Okay,
So, Christian, if you don't mind, take it away.
great. And Taylor, if you can just remind me on the time when we're ready, and I'll let you manage that side. But hey, everybody, thanks for having me, Taylor, Hannah. I appreciate all the help on getting on board. My name is Christian Bacasa. I run Bacasa Consulting. We basically provide programs around go-to-market strategies with business-to-business ideas as well as direct-to-consumer, whether it's marketing and strategy or operational sides. I'm specifically a Utah business. Within that Utah business, I've worked with the state to provide some Utah to Utah business programs. So I know there's a lot of Utah businesses here. If you are a Utah business, I am able to offer up to a 40% rebate on services because the state has a business to business grant program. So feel free to reach out to me. I'm a member of that grant program and can help you there, save a few bucks if you have any interest. Another aspect of my business is LinkedIn prospecting. I've worked for 20 some years in the tech industry and primarily in sales and business development. And I've became very adept at with LinkedIn and seeing the values of it. Specifically in B2B, it's such an amazing network to use. The big thing about LinkedIn is that the attributes are there and available for you to identify what we call your ideal customer profile, your ICP. And because that's readily available, there have been tools developed and designed to help you perform outreach in more succinct manners as well as more rapid manners to gain customers. And as email boxes have become overwhelmed with sequences and more emails, LinkedIn has become more popular. The downfall of that is LinkedIn has become more popular. So people are getting hit more on LinkedIn. So it's getting harder and harder as we go. Part of that is because the tools have gotten better. Part of that is because more and more people were just actively doing that. It's become such a rich tool and environment to perform in. So, in the recent news, I want to cover there are some things that have happened. There's two companies in particular that have been shut down. Apollo is one of them. They are tools that utilize some things in LinkedIn outside of their terms of service. So I'll briefly discuss this because people have a lot of questions around it. Basically, people were using tools in two different ways. There's what you call crawling and what you call scraping mentalities for these tools. Crawling is what Google's done for the past 15, 20 years, right? It's public information. They crawl the public information, they absorb it and use it. The terms and service of LinkedIn, you're able to do that. It's public information. Where scraping has come in is scraping is utilizing information within a site that is beyond a login wall. So if you log into information, it's no longer public. And if you are scraping that information, that's against their terms and service. Why so? Well, LinkedIn believes that, hey, we've acquired the data that you're scraping, so we own it and we want to protect our users. And where the problem has come up in the past so many years is they've really left that terms of service open and enabled people to go ahead and scrape, right? Yeah, you can go ahead and do it. We're not really going to do much about it. Well, then just last week, they turned off. You're no longer allowed to do that. So they literally shut down some of these companies and it really scared a lot of these third party actors, et cetera. The other element of LinkedIn that's changed slightly recently
Christian,
is,
you're not advancing your slides from.
yeah, we're staying on the same slide for now.
Okay, perfect.
Um, the other thing that's changed recently is automation. So you're only allowed to utilize a certain amount of automation within your tools that you use with LinkedIn. And that's so you're not going beyond their thresholds and really basically taking advantage of the environment and the network within LinkedIn. So just be aware of those few things. If you work with someone, make sure that they're working within those rules. Okay. The downfall there, again, is if you go beyond those thresholds, you can have your account shut down by LinkedIn, which you do other things in there, it could be pretty detrimental to you as a business. Okay. So if you want to get a hold of me, here's my contact information. I'm going to forward this deck to Hannah. She can pass it on today. I'm going to walk through the presentation relatively quickly, but notice within the presentation, it is a PDF. There are lots of links that you can use and take a number of these steps on your own if you don't want to invest in advisement, et cetera, and really make some forward steps for yourself. Okay. So LinkedIn comes down to a few things. First and foremost, you're gonna,
We're still seeing your PDF
yep.
instead of
You seeing the
a full
PDF
screen.
change now, Taylor?
No, we're not.
No,
Okay.
not yet.
Okay. How about there?
There we go. Profile,
Okay.
reach, search.
Yep. Perfect. All right. So the big thing with your LinkedIn is getting set and organized to utilize your profile, right? So there's a number of things that you can do to advance LinkedIn. There's your profile. There's then increasing your reach. There's understanding your search side of uh, the search side of your elements. Oops, I think the screen just shut down. Hang on. And then performing, how you do your effective outreach, how do you master your messaging, and then last, how do I augment that with software additives, et cetera. So we're going to walk through a few of those things today. When you look at this presentation at home, there are again some links in there that you could advance us. So let's start with your profile. I talked about the rebate program. So the profile for you guys is a big one. This is something that everybody can do on their own, and that's really just start to clean it up. Think of your profile as your like digital resume, right? You don't need all of the necessary details that you would maybe have in your resume, but think of your resume as it's my highlight points, right? So I want to express in my online resume that I'm a professional in my space. So what is my history? What am I about? What do I like to do? Any additional experience, et cetera. Some of those things can be enhanced with very little items. I'm going to talk about some of those right now. Image is a big one. One of the things that you want to think about is your resume. Is a normal resume, it's so professional, it's hyper professional, right? Whereas a LinkedIn resume, you want to think about yourself more so as a person as does somebody want to work with me? Right? Do you look happy? Are you smiling? Are you maybe active in the environment that you like to work in? Do you have some things in there that are personal that you might be able to draw some lines to somebody? They have some personal experiences as well. Are you really a human? I like to think about make yourself or humanize yourself with your profile because people like to work with people. That's what it comes down to. I mean, essentially, if I'm looking to work with somebody in business, I'm looking at a few things. One is do they have the experience and are they competent in what they can do? Would I mind working with them day to day? And then last is do I really believe that they'll be able to deliver, right? Might not be in that specific order, but those are probably the three big items that I'm going to start to look at. So as you walk through your profile, this will give you some tips on how to do that. In fact, LinkedIn actually provides you, and I have a link to it, a free course to look at that and do that as well. Now, you're going to talk to all kinds of people in the industry of LinkedIn and optimizing profiles, and they're probably going to give you a bunch of different ideas and thoughts. I've gone through a number of them. I have a pretty sound set of the main things that I like to do. One is experience. I talk about my headline and my about items, how to make those really personalized, and then the image. If I can adjust those things, I'm going to get really darn close. It's never going to be a perfect science and it's probably going to change over time. So don't put absolutely too much time into that. The next thing I like to really focus on is what I call network multipliers. So the big thing with reaching out in LinkedIn is understanding that you need to grow your network. As you grow your network, you're going to then be exposed to more and more opportunity because those are more and more people that may fall into your space. So by using network multipliers, these different types of people, you'll be able to grow your network that much faster. So that's an area where you can focus on to grow. So that's people that have very high connections typically, or people that are very highly influenced within the spaces that you want to be active. You may not want to do business with them directly. In fact, they may even be a competitor, but within their network lies the people that you want to be active with in the long run. So think about that element. That's a really important one that gets overlooked. Next, we talk about ideal customer profiles. This is a big one. Understand who the person is you want to reach out to. So really start to look at Sales Navigator and the various attributes that are available by LinkedIn and understand who exactly do I want to work with and why, and start to narrow that down. Those are the people that you want to reach out with. The second tip I'll give you is Sales Navigator has a click on tool that you can use within it to filter down your prospects. And that's a filter that says people who have posted recently. If people aren't posting on LinkedIn, they're not really active on LinkedIn. So your propensity to connect and have a conversation is going to be a lot lower. So that's a really nice tip for you to take advantage of. We talk about advanced search techniques. There's a number in Sales Navigator. The other one that you can use is Boolean search operators. There's a link in here that shows you how to do that. LinkedIn will talk you through that. It's not the best tool that LinkedIn has really built, but it is an additive to those areas that most people don't take advantage of. So you can filter down to very specific things, maybe within an industry, if there's a terminology that's used, et cetera, and that'll help you as well. So there's another fellow called Dennis Zekic. He opened up a way of having conversations. I'm not going to go through this in detail today because it's pretty in depth, but there are some links to his process. This is a really nice and very simple process to perform your outreach. A lot of it is going to help you set up your conversations. If you look at this in detail, it's going to talk about the simplicity of it, the more conversational aspects of it, and then how to provide value to your contacts. So definitely take a look at that one. There are some failures with the communication technique. So I want to make sure that I cover those for you so you're aware. You need to stay away from generic messaging. So when you start to perform the exercises in identifying your ICP, you want to also make sure that the upfront messaging isn't so generic that it sticks outside of them and they can recognize. So think of yourself as a customer. If I read this, would it really pertain to me or would it pertain to a much broader audience? You want to get as narrow as you can. I think of it as shooting with a rifle versus a shotgun approach, okay? Personalization is key, and personalization can be as little as inserting first name. It can be as much as talking about the area that they're located in, the business that they're in, their former customers, the people that they're connected to, et cetera, et cetera. So there are some real advantages there. And then the last is really over relying on automation. Some people put people in the automation techniques in sequences and they just let it run and run and run and they don't chime in, or they let it run. And what a lot of people are doing now is they're using AI to augment, and it's just not there yet. AI is really powerful and it is a great way to start conversation or to initiate what a conversation may be, and then override that and write it in your own terms. So great, I guess you could say sparking ideas per se. All right, so we've got a few more minutes left. There are some ways to craft effective messages. You talk about shared interests. You really lead with value. I think of like a jab, jab, punch. I'm going to value, and then I'm going to maybe ask for a meeting or more in-depth discussion, et cetera. And then always having your clear CTAs. And your CTAs can be everything from take advantage of this, read this, et cetera, to, hey, I want to get a meeting with you, or I would like to network, et cetera. One of the things that I found in recent years that's been of super high value is just plain networking with people in my space, not necessarily going after a meeting or try to sell product or services, et cetera, but networking and letting them know, hey, I'll pass you a few leads if I can. If you can pass me a few leads, that's fantastic. That's really the objective of my call. If there's an organic conversation around doing business together, then let's talk about it. Otherwise, I'm not really here to do that. And it's a great way of breaking down walls, having a real conversation. And you'd be amazed how many people you really work with and form absolutely friendly relationships with that are great. Okay, so we talk about leveraging AI. I did discuss this earlier. There are some things that you can do in there. I think it's an opportunity for you to leverage AI, whether it's writing articles or white papers, et cetera. Those can be starting points. So don't fully rely on AI in all of your services, but I think AI is a great example for you to be able to start somewhere, generate ideas, augment your ideas, but then add your own personal insights and services to that. Okay. I talked about my rebate program earlier, and that's for Utah to Utah businesses. Again, this is a copy of my deck. I'm going to provide that to Hannah for you, and you'll be able to reach me there. Otherwise, I think let's jump into some questions.
Thanks, Christian.
Sure.
Which of those places would you dive in deeper first? Like if you were to take one of those items that you talked about and give us a more specific case study or kind of a how-to, which one would you suggest people do first?
Yeah, first and foremost is your profile. That's your number one tool that you have. People are going to stumble upon you. They're going to find you in your own reaches or their own outreaches, and you're going to be able to present yourself better, right? What am I really looking to do? So having some clear identifiers in there of this is what I do for my customers and how I help them. And then I think the other one is what could you do for me, right? Letting people know, hey, what am I open to? A lot of people get pretty standoffish in some of their profiles, and that's an immediate turn away. And it's surprising when they're trying to do business or networking. LinkedIn is a business networking space. So even in your outreach, it's okay to say, hey, it wouldn't be LinkedIn if I wasn't reaching out to you to network or prospect, et cetera, and start off in a very conversational way versus, hey, let's connect. Can you have a meeting next week? And it's like, well, I don't even know who you are yet. I've looked at your profile, it doesn't explain it, et cetera. So trying to really define who I am and what value I can add, that's really important. And then I would say in alignment with your profile is all the activity you do. This is really key. So I'm an expert in the XYZ space. Well, if I'm an expert in the XYZ space, I should be publishing information that shows my expertise in that space. So, for example, the easiest way to do that is cover the things that are talked about in your meetings throughout the day. You probably have 3 or 4 meeting discussions during the day. And during those meetings, your customer says, I'm really trying to solve ABC. And you go, oh, well, we can do that by going through and XYZ. Well, just talk about that in a post and post it. And don't fall into the trap that these vanity metrics often are cited by LinkedIn professionals. So these LinkedIn experts will tell you, you need to get all these likes and shares and likes and likes and likes, and they got thousands of likes. That, in my opinion, is a vanity metric. If you look at my profile, I get 8 to 10 likes on my messages, but I can tell you I hold meetings all the time and people go, I read your article, I really liked it. It was very valuable, et cetera, et cetera. And I have 4 to 5 meetings a day that I schedule through LinkedIn. I do not prospect on email anymore. It's so effective for me. Next question.
Are there any third-party tools that you would recommend that would help me scrape leads and help me send out mass messages with personalized messages too?
Yeah, there's a number of tools that you can use. The way that I like to look at tools is in the sense of really 3 elements. What budget do I have? What's the velocity at which I can outreach? So how much can I handle per se? And that's like in volume. And then the same is what's my daily volume that I can handle actually receiving? Okay. So those are the three major aspects. With regard to tools, there's a number of them. I've reviewed probably 35 or different tools, and I offer 4 different tools on my services that I partner with. So the way that I offer those services is through it's like an affiliation project. So I bring them customers and I get a payback on it. It doesn't cost you any more. You're welcome to look at my website. Those will give you some things, and don't hesitate to reach out to me. Some of them are in various differences, and I'll kind of describe that. One is a very high boutique methodology. So they perform outreach for you, and it's a human to human connection. We actually have people that work on that. The next is it's a DIY service. It's a little less expensive, but you manage it yourself and can run it yourself. So it's a great starting point. And we utilize some things in a lot of these tools that are AI that really work with LinkedIn and profile messaging to understand what's the propensity to respond. That's really important, right? So you can identify your ICP, et cetera, but some of these tools will then stack rank your lists. They'll restack rank it. So the ones that have the highest propensity to respond will show up first in your messaging, and you're hitting them. Because you have to think about your invitations and your invite conversations as gold. You only have so many, so you want to hit the highest propensity first. The last one is we have some tools that utilize AI, and they'll mass market with various, they'll give you like 10 accounts that'll prospect for you, and they'll deliver the information for you. So you can think of that project as like it's $4,400 a month. So that's, for 10 accounts, you would assume your cost over the year is about $53,000. But if I was going to go get 10 BDRs, what would that cost me? Right. So if you had a high volume sales team and you really needed to feed them, you could feed them that way in that sense. So there are a number of tools that are available. It's really helping you define what am I really trying to do and accomplish and go from there. Another one I have is it's right in between of the boutique and do it yourself, but it also has very high-end CRM integration, and it has email integration that's really important. And so then you get this omni-channel approach on your business that can be very successful.
Thank you.
Good question. Next. All right, let's see here. Yep, we had a comment from someone, don't manually do it. Automation is awesome. I think it's Dan Moore who said that, and you're absolutely correct. By going in and trying to manually do this, there are manual aspects, I say, that are very valuable, but the automation of initial outreach and initial thank you and initial potential conversation, I think is all automation. It's when you get a response and you start to have conversation, that's where you want to drop the automation and get very personalized in a conversation. So I'll use my scenario. I perform an outreach. It goes for a very simple invite. The invite says, thank you. The next one is, hey, let's do a network conversation if you're open to it. And then usually in that next conversation, I get some type of response, and I start to tie in elements that are very personal. Where are they located? What do they do? What are the past experiences how can I bring value to them, et cetera, et cetera. And that is amazing how it opens up the conversation. If I was doing all 3 of those things at the start manually, it would take hours per day. I literally sit on the computer for about 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the evening. And every time I have anywhere from about 7 to 10 messages that I respond to, and about 3 to 5 of those result in a meeting. I do the same exact thing in the evening, 7 to 10 messages, 3 to 5 turn into meetings. And meetings will just get scheduled into my calendar every day. I'll see invites from my Calendly because I use that link as an automation in my process in the messaging.
Super cool. Another question in the chat: what tools do you use to do the omni-channel outreach?
Yeah, so the omni-channel outreach can be accomplished in a number of different ways. The big ones that I use utilize a LinkedIn tool and then a CRM integration with that. To enhance that even further, you can have things that help you with just channeling the same messaging across your LinkedIn to other social media elements, or including those elements. It's not as much as the tool as it is the messaging itself. So understanding that what I'm publishing in one space has to speak the same language and form in another space. Think of it as, McDonald's became successful in a lot of ways because when you go to McDonald's in Virginia, Chicago, or Denver, it's always the same thing. You walk in, the menu looks the same, the pricing is the same, the burgers look and taste the same, etc. That's what you want to start to perform as a business, is wherever they find me, they're going to receive the same and similar messages. And we know that if you receive your messaging in at least 3 places from someone, 3 different locations, you have a 33% higher chance of actually converting that person into a customer. Let's see. Finding and prioritizing prospects. That's a good question. So the biggest ways to find and prioritize prospects is through your sales navigators, number one. So LinkedIn, they control how you find prospects. That's through their sales navigator. So they're going to provide you with a number of different attributes that you can target. Where's the company located? Where's the headquarters located? How much do the people or the companies earn per year? So there's like a company element, then there's a person element, and then there's a few other elements. By utilizing that, you're going to break that down into a certain subset of attributes that you're going to start to manage in your ICP. Okay. Then you can try to secondary augment that with maybe some specific things with the Boolean searches. I'll use an example of a customer I have. He has a business in logistics, and his logistics are primarily oriented around it's a freezing and cooling process for pharmaceuticals. Well, there's a very specific term in that space that is used in titles and descriptions of their business. So he can go and perform a Boolean search. That Boolean search is going to go look for anybody that has that term in their profile. If they have that, he's going to start to include that in his space. Now, his list is going to instantly go like this because it's such a finite area, but he knows anyone outside of that really isn't my customer. So I don't want to bother with that. Now, in your spaces, whether if they're maybe a little wider, you're going to start a little wider, knowing that you can probably do about 1,100 outreaches a month in automation. Okay. And you're going to start to narrow your list down. Then once you get your list and you start prospecting and you're seeing the correspondence, the propensity to connect and do business, you're going to start to make some self-adjustments. And that is, I need to go wider. I don't have enough people in my network, or these meetings aren't leading, all of them aren't leading to business, or many of them are not leading to business. So I'm going to start to narrow that. So then you get more succinct and more dialed. So now you can start to add in a lot of those business development techniques where you're saying, okay, I'm going to allow these people to come into my pipeline. Then when I go maybe through my meeting, I'm going to ask some secondary or tertiary questions that are then going to remove them out of my pipeline, because I only want to have conversation and utilize my time with people that are actually going to close and do business with me. Now, you can do that in a number of ways. So you can do that for, these are people I'm going to do business with, and that's my direct sales business. I can also think of that as a partnering and distribution side. So I might do business that way. And then I can think of it as a networking side. These aren't people that I'm going to sell to directly, but they know 4 or 5 people that I might do business with. Remember when we talked about that multiplier aspect? That's a key element to that, is understanding there's not always a direct path to an end customer. And that might be a better path for you in the long run to increase your volume.
That's great. There are a couple more, 2 more questions I see in the chat, one from Raj and one from Dan. I think those will be our last questions if you could field those, Christian, but this has been awesome. Thank you.
Okay, Raj. So LinkedIn automation CRM tool integration, which one do you recommend? There are a number of them. I have one on my tool called Autopilot that I utilize. It works really well. There are other automations that will integrate with HubSpot, Salesforce.com, et cetera. A lot of them are API integrations, and it's pretty easy to integrate. It's more of what you want to take on. Some people actually don't want as much noise in their CRM. They want to manage it outside of that. And because a lot of times there's infrastructure expenses that are involved in there, and there can be a lot of interaction there. The other is sync times, things like that. My honest opinion is I don't believe that it's necessary to have a lot of that, as a lot of that conversation leaves with that person in their LinkedIn account. So there's some touch points that you can talk about, like what is the real value of holding that information? Sometimes it's there, sometimes it isn't. So things to think about, Raj, for sure. Good question. And there was another one you were thinking about, Taylor?
Dan's, is that second one, what's the question there? Who's willing to talk greater
I was
than?
just summarizing what he was saying in my own language for my own notes. Sorry.
Gotcha. Awesome.
Yeah, I do have another one from Bill. I want to address this because I think it's an important part. So he's asking, starting with AI to spam people, blah, 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 network. Yep. You don't want to degrade your own network, making sure that's inappropriate. That's an absolute. So when you are starting your conversations, the key components are understanding who do I want to connect with? How am I going to be least disruptive to connect with them and get in front of them to understand, is a conversation worthwhile? Most people will only respond if they believe there is a conversation worthwhile. So that's prospecting. That's new people coming into your network. Okay. That's bringing and inviting them in. If they invite in, they're usually willing to have some type of networking conversation. They understand the value of that within their own organization, et cetera. In not overdoing the AI side, but actually having real conversation. If you think about what I had spoke to earlier, and that is get them into your network, maybe start some of the conversation with very basic conversation topics, but then immediately moving off of that and having real conversation. The real conversation is where you're going to have business. It's not the automation or the AI. It's just not going to do it for you. It's not there. The next is what I call nurture campaigns. So nurture campaigns are your existing network. In your existing network, you can use larger scale connections, but again, you have to make subsets that are very tight niched within your own network to converse with and start that conversation with an automation. So for example, hey, we've been connected for a number of times or for a number of years now. We haven't been able to connect. I'd love to connect with you around this specific process. Does that work for you? And then I always throw in, if that doesn't work, no worries. Is there anything I can do with you just to stay in touch with you since you're in my network? And you offer some kind of rebuttal of, hey, here's the value I can add. So thanks again, everybody. We'll send out the deck for you and appreciate all the questions.
Christian, thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
Thanks,
We'll
Taylor.
see everybody back here next Tuesday. Thanks for coming and have a great week.
Bye-bye.
Bye all.